Welcome back to the old card shop. Welcome back, everyone. And thank you again for tuning in to another episode of the Trainer Spotlight. Tonight, we've got a really exciting episode. We have one of our favorite streamers on the same platform that we like to stream on, Whatnot, come to join us here on YouTube, crossing platforms. So breaking down walls all the way from Hawaii. So should we say aloha? But welcome, Waifu. Welcome to the channel. How you doing today?
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to talk story about Pokemon and everything about it. Yeah, I'm ready to do this. Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, excited to have you on, definitely. It's gonna go pretty smoothly. I hope these sort of trainer spotlights we do are pretty smooth sailing. Typically speaking, you're more of a live streamer, am I right? So why don't you, if anyone hasn't heard of you, your platform where you're on mostly on IG and I think Whatnot, have you crossed into any other platforms or anything?
No, just mainly Instagram and Whatnot. For all the streams, it's through Whatnot. I don't do Instagram lives or anything. Maybe in the future, who knows? But yeah, basically I rip open Japanese Pokemon packs and booster boxes, and I specialize in reading all of them in its native language, in Japanese. So a lot of people like that and think it's different. So it's also good practice for me reading Japanese. So yeah.
Yeah, and so that's kind of how I first came across your stream. I'm also a Whatnot streamer, and so I was just perusing through. I think it had to have been almost a year ago at this point.
Mhm.
Have you gotten to your 1 year anniversary on Whatnot at this point?
Yes, I
Yes.
have.
Nice, congratulations. Yeah, because
Thank
I say
you.
you've been on this platform for a long time. You're one of the OGs at this point. And so
Mhm.
I think I was just scrolling through and I saw your name, and your name is, of course, Waifu, which fantastic naming and
Yes.
branding. Like I was just sitting there, I was like, oh my gosh, I have to click on this stream. What is this? Because there's not a lot of, at the time on Whatnot, there weren't a lot of lady streamers, you know. It was
Yes.
more, it's a bunch of 30-year-old dudes, like a bunch of, I call them Poke Boomers, you know, because a lot of us, and it was refreshing to see something different. So of course I had to click into the stream, see what that was all about. And lo and behold, I think you were you were opening Japanese cards, which what was kind of different at the time anyway. Not a lot where people were doing Japanese, there's a lot of English.
Mhm.
And then you were reading them, but in their original, like in the language, like you're reading the cards and the names, and it was so refreshing to hear. And so I had seen the old Meiji cards. They would put like, you know, the names written in English, but in their OG names.
Right. Yes, yes,
And I would
yes.
read them incorrectly, but hearing you pronounce them it was just like, oh my gosh, this whole time I've been saying that so wrong. So I love that about your channel. And so I'm definitely going to link Waifu's channel down below in the comments or in the profile so you can kind of find her. Definitely go check her out when she streams. Do you have a regular stream schedule that you try to adhere to? Let everyone know if you do, because I would love for them to go find you after
Yes,
this.
I try to at least stream Tuesdays and Thursdays, sometimes on Wednesdays, and for me around probably late night for like the mainland, but for me it's about 4 p.m., which I think it's like 7 p.m. Pacific and then 10 p.m. Eastern. So kind of on the later side for the stream, but hey, it's when you're like winding down, after work and stuff, just come hang out with Waifu.
Yeah, and it's honestly a good time to stream at the more in the evenings. I find as a streamer, I think that seems to be like optimal peak engagement timing. I actually see a lot of it in the morning too, though. So it's kind of interesting that early morning gets a lot of engagement too. But nice, yeah. So everyone definitely go down below, check Waifu out on Whatnot. Go purchase some stuff from her. You're gonna get some stuff shipped. Probably, I think the last thing I got from you had a couple like cute stickers in it and stuff too. I've seen you venture into like some of your the giveaways that you do on your channel are like unique pins and patches and stuff done by artists in Hawaii. So I really like what's going on the channel there. But just sort of moving on from your Whatnot, I did want this sort of to be less about your business side and more about sort of what got you into Pokemon, because that's what this is about. It's a trainer spotlight. And so I kind of want to veer more into sort of the first question I always like to start off with everyone, which is a very, very general question, but you can take it however you will. And I love how to hear different people take it, but just in general, how would you say, or what got you into the hobby, or what was your entrance into the hobby like can you talk a little bit about that beginning, like what you got started with Pokemon or your first experience, however you want to take it, but always love to
Yeah,
hear the story from people.
I feel like it's kind of like multiple levels for me just because like I have family in Japan. My mom's from Japan. And so ever since I was little, when we go to Japan, you know, we go to the Pokemon Center and just like shop there. So that was just kind of like, you know, just like Disney to me, you know, it was just
Jealous.
kind of like your childhood, you know, stuff.
Yeah.
And then so yeah, and I, you know, watched like the movies and like the show. And then I mainly, my cousins, my American cousins, they would all play at the actual like trading card game for Pokemon, but I never really got into cards at first. And then I would mainly play like the Nintendo games. So
Okay.
like my first one, like I'm pretty sure I've played like Red and Gold, but like my most favorite one that I played, and like I literally like YouTube like the playlist and the soundtrack just because it like calms my soul, is from Ruby and no,
That,
is it?
yeah,
Yes.
Ruby Sapphire. Yeah. So is that the generation with Mudkip in it? Is that the one that has
It
the
is.
okay, so I already know this is one of the questions we like to ask is who your favorite Pokemon is, but I know because you have Mudkip all over little like in your streams that
Yeah.
Mudkip's your favorite Pokemon. So that does line up. So yeah, oh, that's awesome. Is that like a 3D printed? That's
Yeah.
super cool.
And it's like so awesome.
Yeah, so that's okay. That's really cool. So you said you're a red girl, you're a kind of a gold girl, but more so than that, you're like a ruby sapphire kind of girl. So
Yes.
okay, very cool. Most of the people that I've had on my channel, they're always saying like, oh yeah, I started on red or blue and I kind of
Mhm.
quit around the second generation. It sounds
Mhm.
like you were really just getting into it at that time then. Nice. And
Yeah. And
so yeah, so go I'm sorry, go on. Yeah.
oh, sorry. And then I was gonna say, you know, I played all the games and then I kind of fell out of it around, I don't know, like maybe like black and white for the game. And then I got back into it once the pandemic hit, and I'm sure a lot can relate to. And that's where kind of like the cards came into my life. So that's kind of how Pokemon has come in and out of my life.
So your family then was from Japan originally, and that was how you were you born in Japan, did you say?
I was not. I was
Oh,
born in Arizona, and that's where I, you know, lived there until high school, and then I moved out here to Hawaii for college, and I've been here ever since. But my mom's side is from Japan, so I have cousins over there, and then my dad's side is all in America, so kind of half
okay.
and half. And I go and visit Japan as many times as I can.
Yeah, because when you talk about the Pokemon Center like that, like it's like the Disney store sort of thing, I just like that seems to me, my eyes light up. Because like growing up, the Disney store was kind of fun. You like because they had like the play place in the back and they had all the plushes and everything. It's fun, right? But having a Pokemon store now, that sounds great. And we did have one in the United States once upon a time. We had one in New York, right?
Mhm.
But I didn't ever get a chance to go there. It was East Coast. I'm in the West Coast of California. There was one down in LA as well, and I lived in San Diego for a while, but I did not get a chance to go to the one in LA. I was a kid, so yeah,
Mhm.
totally. That I'm jealous of you for being able to actually experience the Japanese. So, do you remember which Pokemon Center? Is it the one in Osaka? Is that the OG one, or
Oh, that's a good question. It might be, but I did, yes, mainly go to the one in Osaka because that's where my family is from. They're from Osaka Prefecture.
that's a beautiful area. Like I always thought like Japan would be if I was going to go to Japan because Osaka has that more like cultural, historical, I think like cherry blossoms and all the beautiful like pagoda style like the roofs and everything. I would probably have to go to that area for sure. And the
Yes.
Pokemon Center
Sure.
being there being that's a pretty, that's a pretty cool area too. So yeah, Japan for us is on the top of my list for places to travel. So
Yes.
from Arizona to Hawaii, then that's a nice little journey. When
Mhm.
did you sort of move away from the mainland and go to the islands there?
When did I?
Mm-hmm.
So I graduated high school in 14. So I moved immediately after, and then I started college out here. And yeah, it kind of worked out just because for some reason, Arizona and Hawaii has like their Western undergrad exchange, which basically means that people from Arizona can apply to University of Hawaii at Manoa, and pretty much get close to intuition, or what's it called? um, Local in-state tuition. That's what it is.
So then you don't have to pay as much, and it's much
Yes.
more. It's like 50% cheaper when it's
Yes.
yeah, it's
And
ridiculous.
so it was like, well, my mom was gonna originally move out after I graduated high school, and then I was like, well, you know, it'll be closer to Japan, instead of flying like whatever 19 hours or some crazy thing from Arizona. And then it'll be kind of like a nice like halfway point from America and Japan. So it really worked out, and it is crazy how I fit in more here in Hawaii than I did in Arizona.
Well, it does. So I'm just now hearing that you had any error. So my interaction with you, I always see in the background the like window open, Hawaii on your stream. So Waifu was actually one of the first Whatnot streamers to start dual camera streaming as well. That was one of the interesting things that I liked about her stream, is that you actually could like interact with her in that way. And so you would always see in the background, though, you would see the window and kind of the flowing of the Hawaii outside. And it was always very nice to see that. So I never even had an idea that you lived on the mainland. I was thinking like, so spoiler alert, Waifu will be going to, I believe, if this has not already been announced, she'll be going to Los Angeles or Long Beach for Collecticon in the end of this month, so in August. So if any of you guys are going to be in Long Beach, we'll also be there. You'll be able to meet Waifu in person, as well as, you know, ourselves and our podcast hosts, all of the folks, all the fam. But yeah, I thought that was going to be like one of your first times having, or I don't know, maybe you came when you were younger, but for some reason in my mind, I was thinking, oh, Waifu's coming to the mainland. Like this is something that never happens. That's funny. Well, that's really kind of an interesting story. And I'm actually refreshed to hear something that's a little bit different than the usual, like, you know, I started when I was 8 years old, we got out of it, the same sort of thing. And so when you found, like with the pandemic hit again, and you kind of found your cards and kind of got back into it and started interacting with the hobby again that way, did you just kind of find it at your local Target, or did you find your old binder and you're like, oh, and then you had to kind of dig back into it there? Because like when I think of Hawaii, I think of in the mainland, it was hard to get product, you know? And so I could imagine on an island where like, you know, the main goods you need are necessities that are getting shipped in. I'm sure that Pokemon cards weren't very high on the list of things to get shipped in during the pandemic. So like, how were you able to kind of navigate that? And I guess, did you find like cards out there? Or like, what was that situation like?
Good question. I didn't like find my old binders and stuff. I think my cousin has all of them. And I keep telling them, hey, go find those cards.
Yeah, and don't do anything with them.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't you dare look up the values.
Exactly. I'm like, yo, look, let me just sell them for you and
don't
we can
look.
split it. Nah. But I don't know. It was more kind of like, you know, when we're all just like, everything was shut down. I started playing Animal Crossing, as everyone else did, and that was the best. And then one of my friends introduced me to Whatnot, and then that's basically what sparked that interest again, and just how everyone was picking back up. And then I was watching like someone's stream, I think, and they were reading like the Japanese cards, or not reading, you know, like going through the Japanese cards. And then I was reading the names to my friend and they're like, oh, wow, I didn't know that. Or like, you know, explaining like, oh, like, I wonder if this name means this, because if you know, just like trying to translate the names. And then, you know, they're like, look, you can like read the names and people would be so interested. Like you literally just read 5 names to me and that was so cool. And then, yeah, I just had like people in my friend circle that just started to, just like collect. And I was like, I should get back into this. And yeah, that's just how it started. But yeah, there's not a lot there's some like card shops and stuff, but definitely like in the pandemic, like during the pandemic, we would like line up at like Target at like 2:00 in the morning, like trying to get all like the boxes and stuff.
You had to do that. If you didn't do that during the pandemic, were you really even into Pokemon? Like, can you even say? if you didn't lose some sleep or go to your, go leave early to go to your job, but you had to leave early to stop at Target before you go to your job, before you
Right.
work. If you didn't do that during the pandemic, were you really that into Pokemon? Like, so I always saw you though, most of the time you had Japanese product at that time, which I actually when now it's like dime a dozen. Everyone does Japanese now because like it was originally not as easy to get, and you had to order it from Japan. Most people, even with distributors, so a lot of people don't know this about Japan, but Japan has laws, the distributors, that do not allow for their distributors to sell outside of Japan. And all the boxes that you get, the booster boxes, say not for resale outside of Japan on them. It's because they're not literally allowed to be. That's why you have to buy them from a secondhand store typically, where you always go through a reseller, or you have to go through a third party to buy them, because the straight up distributors aren't allowed to because of their laws for whatever reason. And so I always thought of Japan as being a little bit more difficult to get. And so I strictly don't deal in Japan. I am very much so a Pokeboomer who deals in English, and I think of Japan as like this like fanciful like area that is like I can't read it, and so it's like it's still exotic to me because like, oh cool, I haven't seen some of these cards. They're like the Versus series or the vending series. Some of the artworks are so unique and just they're not even in English. And so like your stream having Japanese that early on, I have to think that must have been sort of a benefit. Like that had to have been something that people, not only just the fact that you were able to kind of give us that nostalgia that we never knew we wanted about reading it in the OG language, but definitely the fact that you tuned into that Japanese early on, I have to think was probably a great thing for your channel. So was it just the fact that you kind of, that's what led you to that? The fact that it was more like, that was your niche and that was just naturally where you went? Or is it more so because the English was sort of so hard to get? It was like, oh, well, this is natural for me. I might as well do this.
I think it was mostly just so I can like share the Japanese culture with the people that were, using Whatnot. Just because like just if you know me outside of Whatnot, and like I am obsessed with Japan. I've lived there, I have family out there, and I just love teaching people like Japanese or just like fun facts about Japan. And so I think this was like a great, different way for me to share my passion for my, traditions and culture and like the language. And so that really got me into it. And people were, sharing back with me how much they enjoyed it. So it was just kind of like a good start of a relationship that kind of happened.
Yeah, now over a year later, you're basically a part to full-time streamer. I guess that's a great lead into my next question here, though. But is Pokemon sort of something that you do full-time, or is it something that's kind of on the side, sort of a side hobby for you, side hustle? And if so, or I should say, I already know Pokemon's a lifestyle for you. How much of your life would you say is kind of like, would you say is really taken up? How much of your day-to-day is taken up by Pokemon?
I think definitely when I started, it was like a side hustle. It was just, for fun and like just talking to random people, and everyone is so nice on Whatnot. But I think now I'm trying to, make it a little bit more, I don't know, just take up more space in my life, just because it's something so fun to do. And I have other, jobs too and stuff, but it's more like, dealing with customer service and people who are mad at me and like, like the whole like retail and stuff like that, versus like me streaming, for a couple hours a day. I get to see people who appreciate me and like, like just want to have a good time. It definitely outweighs my other stuff that I do in my life. So I'm trying to slowly make it more full-time.
Well, I think you're doing really well with it. How many followers are you up to on Whatnot now? Maybe we can give you a little boost here for any of these YouTubers who haven't yet found Waifu. It's especially since your timing or like your time is a little bit different than a lot of the mainlanders. Maybe that's why they haven't come across your stream. But hopefully we can get you some new followers here. But what are you up to?
So yeah, I mean, so I usually would stream once a week, just for a couple of hours. And right now I changed my schedule around so I can stream 2 to 3 times a week now. And I finally reached 2,000 followers.
That's what I was
Took a
wanting to
little
hear.
bit.
Yes, 2000. Congratulations.
Yeah.
That's huge. That is like
Yeah.
my first 1000 took me like a whole year, literal a year to get. And then from 1
Yeah.
to 2000, it had to have taken like another half a year. So
Mhm.
congratulations. Such a
Thank
good like
you.
milestone. So let's
Yeah.
get to 3000 now. So everyone,
Yes, I'm ready.
we have like 1500 followers on YouTube. So go, or no, we're not quite at 1500. Maybe we can bump up there soon, but help us get Waifu there. So let's get her to that 3000 mark there, guys.
Oh, thank you.
But yeah, that's super cool to hear, and I'm glad to hear that it's kind of going well, that you're looking to move a little bit more into it as well, because I do think that you have a natural talent for it. Like, I'm not able to kind of come to all your streams, but I definitely, as far as like, there's so many streamers on Whatnot, but when I do see your streams, I try to pop in there because it's literally the only place and the only person that I've seen who does that style of stream. So I definitely think that you have something to offer. And I'm really glad to hear that you're kind of trying to go for it even a little more, because yeah, you're doing great with it.
Thank you.
But I do kind of have a couple more questions that I'm going to lead into here.
Yes.
So yes, I'm going to get the pen and paper out and keep on with the interview. The next question though that I had up was, I kind of wanted to hear, and I think we answered this a little bit more, but I want to hear about your favorite TCG set, because since you got in maybe a little bit later than some of us are, I'm pretty sure you're not just going to say base set or Team Rocket or something. So I'm definitely curious to hear, like, if you have a favorite TC generation or a favorite set in general, or maybe even an era of sets, because I think you can kind of tell a lot about a person as far as their collecting and their habits, just based in the Pokemon hobby, at least, not, you know, but just based on their favorite kind of sets. So yeah, what would you say yours is?
I think right now, because I started in 2020, and so my main knowledge of just like Pokemon cards is all like modern. And so like my recent one that I'm obsessed with is VMAX Climax.
God, it's so good.
Just like it's so good.
We need to shill that.
11
Okay.
cards.
Every stream that we make, we always shill VMAX Climax. I don't even deal in Japanese, so please, yes, say more.
Yeah. And like you literally get a hit in every pack. And I'm obsessed with like the character cards and all that. And so like, and I also got a box of Dream League 2, which like kind of started everything. So I'm hoping I can stream that at Long Beach.
Oh,
but
that's cool.
Yeah.
You do it after the convention if you can, because during the convention, unless you like have really, really good internet, it's gonna be and then they'll give you, that would be my recommendation, because I was actually going to stream as well during the event, but I was thinking, wait, I have a hotel room that after the event I could stream in that would probably have a lot less latency involved and maybe less background. So that's sort of a thought that maybe, but yeah, that'd be an awesome idea. Dream League is like one of the most popular. So Sun and Moon era is actually my favorite, I think, era of all of Pokemon. Because it has Hidden Fates in it. Hidden Fates is like, for me, it's the best set ever. And so I'm right there with you with modern. Like, a lot of people say their favorite set is X, Y, or Z or whatever, but what got me in the hobby was in 2019, just a little bit before the pandemic, Hidden Fates coming out. My girlfriend and we spent so much time hunting for like Hidden Fates 10s and ETBs, just out in the wild looking for that set and opening it. It was just such like an organically fun experience that, like, whenever I go back to it, or people on my streams buy Hidden Fates, or if I ever open it, it's always so fun to open that I go back to that set. So I'm right there with you. So VMAX Climax, I think, is probably a better set than Hidden Fates, but Hidden Fates has that nostalgia for me, just like getting back into the hobby, because it was my re-entry point too.
Yeah.
Well, that's not a bad set at all. Like I said, we have to shill VMAX Climax a little bit on this channel. I don't own enough of it. I own one single booster box. I need to make it. I need a brown box full of it on this shelf back here. I need to see 20 booster boxes in there. That's how many are in a case, right? 20.
Good question.
I think it's 20. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's 20. Yeah. So that's what I would like to own when this is all said and done. And I say that on every stream that I have. The last 3 streams I've had, I've told myself and my guests that I'm going to go buy in VMAX Climax, and I haven't done it yet. So that's on me. It's going to skyrocket, and I'm going to be mad at myself. That's the world. That's the world we live in. Okay. Well, that's a good answer. Honestly, most people say something vintage. I'm glad to see finally something with someone with the actual courage to say a modern set here. I appreciate your courage for that.
Yes.
But this might be a little bit more of a head scratcher for you. So I want to ask the question and let it marinate a little bit and then go on to the next one. But this is maybe something you already have an answer for. So who knows? Maybe we don't need to let it marinate. Maybe it's a quick, quick marinade. But what if you could say, if there's a single card in this hobby or a single thing in the hobby, it doesn't have to be a card. It could be a giant Mudkip statue that you remember from your hometown that you saw growing up. But it could be anything in the hobby. If you could own it, but you could never sell it, you just had to own the one thing. What would you choose and what would that thing be? And you can let that marinate for a moment if you'd like, because I know that's a bit of a one that you might want to think about.
I think okay, so I've like looked around in like the Pokemon Center, like the website and stuff. And you know how they have like crazy like diamond stuff and like $1,000 items? Well, me being a planner, I'm a planner outside of Pokemon. They sell like a Pikachu like engagement ring.
Like it's a diamond, like
cool. Yes,
is
it's
Pikachu like holding the ring in the actual like
I think it's like, if I remember correctly, or they might have different styles, but it's like the diamond and then like I think two like Pikachu's like just like running kind of like in the motion of that. And like, I don't know, it was like thousands of dollars. And I'm like, wow, I'm so happy they make that. And I'm gonna buy that for myself one day.
So you're saying that that's the key to your heart is that $1,000 Pikachu ring. All right.
Yes.
All right, fair enough. That is hilarious, actually.
Right?
I've not seen that particular one, but they have made like, the solid gold card that they put out for the 20th, I think, anniversary or something.
Yeah.
And that was only in Japan. Can we talk about something for just a moment?
Yeah.
And I understand it, but from like, so I think you probably favor the Japanese cards a little more to English. It seems to be, there's not that limiting. You can't say, oh, I can't read it, so I can't enjoy it. Because that's my only excuse. Like if I didn't have that excuse, I would literally be knee deep in Japanese cards. But
to be fair, some like English, like to read the Pokemon names is so hard. Like,
okay,
like,
I can dig it. So yes, for a person who reads it for a living on my streams, I will absolutely agree with that. Some of them are straight up impossible.
Yeah.
I can't even say some of them still. Like there's several. There are several that polypotode. Like
and you'll hear other people say like different ways to say it, and you're like, what is it? You'll never know.
Well, did you read Harry Potter growing up at all? Did you like ever?
A long time ago.
So
but, yeah.
Hermione, right?
Uh-huh.
Do you remember how you pronounce it in your head? I still to this day remember, because when I saw the movie and I saw the first movie, it shattered my thoughts about Hermione in the whole books. I could never see it the same way again. So
how did you read it?
It used to be the way I heard it in my head and the way I read it up to book number 3 or 4 before the movies came out was Hermione. It was Hermione. So Hermione, it's obviously a way better name. Like it rolls off the. For me, I had went so long going through this hell that was saying his name in my head while I read it, Hermione, that then they went and just pulled the rug on me. So yeah,
like, my whole life is a lie.
Yeah, so that's probably what it's like in English, like Pokemon cards in some regard. If you're used to saying it in the original way, and then you hear it said, and then you're like, oh gosh, just don't. Like, I have a joke on my channel that when I do giveaways, I have 3 Arceus, right? And I have Arceus, Arceus, and Arceus.
Okay.
Who knows how to say it? Arceus, Arceus. Who knows? All are probably wrong. All are probably right. But
I might have an answer to that because so I say Arceus and I like how that sounds. But when they made the announcement for Arceus, there was like the translated version from the Pokemon like YouTube channel, and they pronounced it Arceus.
They've
So
used it both ways in
they
promotional
do.
though.
Oh
Yes,
man,
my girlfriend and I were having this argument, and
no
she
winning.
showed me some way. It was another one. I was like, okay. I was like, well, I guess that beats that.
Well, okay. Well, just kidding.
Yeah, who knows? Who
Who
knows,
knows?
right? I don't. If does even Pokemon Company know? Like, and to be fair, it probably benefits them to not ever speak on it. You know, it's just like let
Yeah.
them eat cake, you
Uh-huh.
know,
Uh-huh.
whatever it is, you know. But yeah, I definitely think that as okay. Anyway, though, point aside, my first question though, the thing about Japanese and
Mhm.
do you think, what is with the shade that is thrown on the English side of the TCG? Why do the Japanese cards always get the best trophy cards, the best hollow treatment, the best artwork, all the best alternate arts, like all the
Yeah.
coolest releases? Like, why? Why the like
Why
the
do
West?
they go over to the English side?
Like those cool, okay, the Precious collection box, or the recent Pikachu box that came out, the big black
Yes.
box, the
Yes.
Precious
Yes. Yes.
whatever. Gorgeous, right? Amazing, like iconic from the Sword and Shield block. Like,
Mhm.
how cool would that be if it had an English? But you and I both know they're never gonna put that in like, just the art style of the card itself, it just looks like a card they would never port over. And I
Yeah.
get like the cards, like the stamp boxes, like with the
Mm,
Kramara and the Pikachu looking back, like
my
that's a
favorite.
cultural Japanese. Like, I get that not coming to English. Like, I'm not
Mhm.
asking for that, but what is with the shade that Japanese Pokemon company likes to just like withhold from their biggest
Right?
audience?
I don't know. Maybe it's just, I don't know. They like to tease everyone, I guess.
Have you noticed that though? Am I wrong to think
Oh
that?
yeah,
Like,
absolutely. No, yeah,
it's a favoritism thing, right? They're like, give the
right.
English because they can have the scraps,
Yeah.
give them the insert whatever. But we sometimes get stuff though, like for example, another set that I like to show sometimes on this channel is Tag GX. Tag
Hmm.
GX, amazing specialty set. Like,
Yeah.
we can skip Shiny Star V. Like, that's I mean, it's better than Shining Fates. That's a real talk, but it's still not a great set. But as far as Tag GX is concerned, that is a set I really enjoy. But
Yeah.
they gave the English counterparts the gold Charizard Reshiram and the gold. I have one right behind me. That Pikachu box that's right
Mhm.
here.
Yeah.
They did that like 2 years later. It was literally out
Oh.
of the blue. Do you remember how long it was out of rotation? Like, I
It's
think they're
crazy how long it takes.
so who
Yeah.
knows? Maybe they are going to print everything. We're going to start getting Illustrator Pikachu coming out in the new collection boxes. English
Yes.
Illustrator Pikachu. They're just waiting
Yeah.
along.
Yeah. I guess you never know. They'll just
So,
randomly throw it at you.
do you ever find yourself sort of diving into sort of like the big trophy craze? Do you know anything about trophy? So I'm not a big trophy guy. I have a lot of friends who are into like really rare Pokemon cards, like the Illustrator
Mm,
Pikachu, like the Snap cards. Do
yeah.
you happen to know what the Snap card? Like, they're from Pokemon Snap Illustrate. Like, you submitted a photo, and then
Yeah.
apparently the winner of the competition, I think
Yes.
it was just in Japan too, because they're
Yes.
only Japanese. They
Hmm.
got like 100 copies, so there's known 100 copies of 20 different cards. I think
Yeah.
I could be wrong. I think maybe it's
So that
20
sounds
different
about
cards.
right. And they
But
did it for like an elementary school too, I think.
yes, there was all kinds of that kind of stuff. But have you ever found yourself like being interested in that? Are you sort of more into like the art and more of like I mean, we were talking about modern more, but I think honestly, you having that tie to Japan and having more of that cultural tie, I feel like you may have more of a chance of being interested in that kind of stuff than someone like me who literally has no, like, I couldn't read the card like anything. So I'm curious, is that something that you're interested in?
Um, Not really, but I feel like I could definitely like find some stuff. I know in my friend group there are people that are super into that, and they'll like tell me the story behind it, and it's like
Yeah.
why it's so rare, and I find that all interesting. But personally, no, I don't collect that type of cards.
Yeah, what kind of stuff do you collect? Because that's one of the questions I like to kind of touch on, and I
Hmm.
mean, perfect segue there. But what kind of cards are you collecting these days? And I guess what kind of collector are you? Like a player, investor? You just collect a binder of what you love, or like what kind of collector are you?
Yeah, I think just from starting out with like, my username Waifu, I try to collect, like mainly waifu cards, all the trainer cards. Yeah, exactly.
Perfect, perfect.
And then now kind of moving into those like character cards. So
Oh,
it's
those
mainly,
are so good. Yeah,
they're so good. I'm
they
so
are.
excited for more to come. But yeah, mainly that right now. Because there's a lot, to collect. So
You could literally get a binder full of just those, and then if you like were to throw alternate arts in there too.
yes.
And there's a lot of cards from the Sun and Moon era that also show the trainer,
Mhm.
but don't necessarily have them in the title. So, for example, in Cosmic Eclipse, one of my favorite cards from the whole set is the Vileplume, the GX Vileplume full art, which
Yes.
it isn't technically an alternate art, but it's the Vileplume with Erica like
Mhm.
sleeping next to the Vileplume, and it has
Yes.
this beautiful
So
texture. It was meant to be a character rare, I believe. I think it was supposed to be, but then they're like, slide it into the full art GX slot. Let's just go.
nice. Mhm.
And there's a lot of those kinds of things kind of hidden, like one with and one with Lunala and Solgaleo as well. With it has Lily on it, I believe, and it has N writing.
Lovely.
Really, really cool art, but it doesn't have it in the title. So like you could go really far with like just collecting the waifus, or also like the characters and the sort of the combination. I agree. I think that, so speaking of like, I definitely love it when they include the human aspect of Pokemon, the trainer with the Pokemon. It's not just like the
Yes.
Pokemon, roar, Charizard blowing fire. It's
Uh-huh.
like the Flareon blowing fire into the hearth next to the
Mhm.
trainer sitting there. The
Yes.
alternate art Flareon, gotta love
Yes.
that. But those types of things I feel are next level for sure for the art. And I'm glad to see Pokemon kind of doing that. But do
Me
you ever
too.
find yourself going back to some of the older stuff like the gym sets, which I think is like the OG, like it has the trainers literally on the card, but then not
Oh,
necessarily in all the
yeah, yeah,
artwork.
yeah.
Yeah.
I personally don't have, but with my recent singles stream, there were a lot of like vintage cards, which I really appreciated doing that just because they were, my friend's collection, and they were like, hey, like I'm trying to get rid of these. Like, would you mind helping me? And I'm like, sure. And so what I did was I got all of these, and I was like, I've only collected, modern. Like I know people love vintage cards, and so I want to learn about them. And so like finding out these different, like the shadowless and like the error cards, and there's so many in like the vintage ones where I was like, this is interesting. So I think from doing that, my interest kind of peaked. So I think in the future, I'll definitely be, if I find some, floating around, I might grab them.
Yeah, I feel like those sets, and if you ever do dive into those sets, the artwork that's just in the, like there's an oddish, for example, an
Mhm.
oddish from, I think it's one of the gym sets, that's in a pot and the pot's fallen over and the oddish was planted in the house pot and he's just like sitting there like, my pot fell over, dude. And it's the cutest art in probably the entire hobby, and in my opinion, and it's like one of my favorite. It's just a common card.
Mhm.
So that particular set series I think is really special, and especially for someone like you who maybe like, I didn't experience the EX era because I got out of Pokemon right around the Neo sets. I was in it from base set to right at the beginning of the Neo like Revelations, because I had a shiny Magikarp in my
Mhm.
original binder hidden
Oh,
behind a regular Magikarp,
oh,
because I put 4 cards in my binder because I was a player. I would put play sets in my binder, and you'd need
gotcha.
four for a deck. So I wouldn't put them all in individual. I put 4 and 1. And so I was going through my old binder in the beginning of the pandemic, got my Magikarps, 1, 2, 3, a base set 2, a regular base 2 base set, and then what is this? Shining Magikarp from Neo Revelation. I remember pulling this thing. Oh my god, I put it behind a regular Magikarp. That is what
Dang.
I didn't even know back when I was a kid, and so that's what I got out of it. But so it's for me, I get what I call reverse nostalgia when I go to the sets that I missed, that were like, oh, if I would have kept in the hobby, I would have seen the set right after this, and I would have really liked that probably. When I get it's sort of reverse nostalgia. And so I think you would probably get a similar sort of reverse nostalgia if you were to go back and sort of experience the gym sets again, if you ever got the inkling to.
Right.
As far as like WotC is concerned, or Wizards of the Coast era, I personally think that those are like the only ones I really need. Like the other ones are great. It's just like, yeah, it's clip art, Tsukumori art, it's like hollow background, but those are really special in my opinion, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so speaking of the hobby and long-term in the hobby, I know you and I kind of both got into it the last few years now, got back into it, but I definitely see myself sort of staying in it now. And I think I kind of know the answer to this, but question for you though, where do you see yourself in the hobby in the next 10 years? And do you actually see yourself still in it? Or do you think maybe you'll be gone doing other, planning for the queen or whatever? I don't know.
Good question. I hope that I'll still be involved. I do look at, streaming and I'm like, dang, like how long am I gonna be doing this? Like I don't know, honestly. I would like to, and I think I'll forever, play the games. And I think just from what I've been doing for the past year, like I'm gonna always have Pokemon cards and I'll always play the games. But yeah, like going live and stuff, like I don't know what the future holds.
Have you ever thought about so did you play Arceus Platinum or the new Arceus Legends game?
Yes.
Did you like it?
I loved it. Oh my gosh, it
too.
was so cool.
Okay, thank you. It was so cool. It was such a refreshing change of pace. Like,
Yeah.
I don't think it gave us everything that we wanted, but it gave us like a taste of it, and it gave us like a look at what we could have for sure. And so very, very cool game, and I really enjoyed it too. But that sort of leads me to think, like, have you ever considered going into the Twitch avenue? I know that you're not currently there, but like Twitch is something that, like, the way that your streams are and the way the style that you kind of stream, I could very much so see a lot of your community transferring over and liking to sit down and hang out with you while you play the first playthrough of Scarlet Violet, or and then in between while you're loading streams, you open a couple packs or something, and then you have it up there, and you don't have to be streaming all the time. People still watch it after the fact, and you kind of get your Twitch revenue. So I mean, I think that's a fun way, and that I could absolutely see if you're saying you wanted to do something like that, man. I could see your community really transferring well into that.
It's definitely been a conversation. It's just figuring out, how I can do it, and like if I have, because like my internet connection is not the best, and so I know, you got to have certain things to stream, and I feel like Whatnot doesn't require a lot,
right.
You just need a phone, basically.
Maybe after the stream, we can discuss a couple of avenues that you may be able to increase your internet usage. You're probably already doing some of this stuff, but that might help. But definitely, I don't think it's a bad idea, but I will say you're right. Streaming and doing that transition is a lot harder than it's like, oh, I'm a streamer on one platform and jumping over. And Twitch is a lot of time, because video gaming is time. Right. I don't know if you've found this with yourself, but like when I was younger, I used to play video games for hours and hours on end. It was like no issue at all. Just play for throughout the night, whatever it was, and to hell with all my other responsibilities. Like I can only sit and play for a few hours at a time now, and a few hours is generous. That is like I'm really dedicating time. Like so definitely, I respect those adults who actually can set aside time to do it, and they think about that. And so like as a Twitch streamer, it would definitely give you a avenue or a reason to like, oh, this is my thing. I got to do this. So I respect those Twitch streamers, but it's a grind for sure. So yeah, if you ever do decide to go that route, just know I will help pump you, and I'm sure everyone in your community will. Hopefully we can transfer some of that over, because I think the cards right now are super exciting, but Pokemon as an IP, one of its strengths wasn't always just its cardboard. Like the fact that they make these cards, that was always cool. To me, it's always been my entry point, because I actually started with I don't know exactly, but I want to say I started with the cards because I have a more intense relationship to the cardboard. But the video games are very much so a part of it. the plushies are a part of it. I have a Gengar right here just looking at this, but
I
like
see.
literally all of the IP is strong because of all of the encompassing aspects. So like I think that's what's cool about Pokemon is like a yo-yo. They make yo-yos back in the 90s, you know, they do everything. And so that's what gives me confidence about the IP. And that's what at least makes me think confidently in the 10-year horizon, because who knows what's happening after that. But that's a
Right.
long time. But I do still feel like Pokemon will probably be around. So, and
Yes.
hopefully we'll be seeing you around in the hobby at that time too. You'll have like 1 million subscribers and you'll be introducing all of us to not just Pokemon, but the other cool stuff in Japan that you love. Which, by the way, your Instagram reels with all the like, I feel like you do a lot of like cool seasonal, like the seasonal food in Japan. They're very about like the seasons and being presentation, and so a lot of the Instagram reels I see you post are sort of highlighting that culture, and I just love it. It's like very kawaii culture, it's really, really cool to see as a Westerner. I think it's funny because nowadays it's even more popular than it ever was before.
Oh, 100%.
So like before it was like you had to hide that you liked anime or like, nerd culture wasn't a thing. Now it's a little bit more, and that's nice to see. Like it's good to see more women getting involved. Like I feel like just women being in the hobby of Pokemon and cards is not something that's very common. I grew up in like LGSs, like I would go after school, like, and hang out at my local game store and play Magic the Gathering or Pokemon. But it was a rare occasion that a girl would come into the shop. And so, it wasn't really a space that I think was that was really available, but now it feels much more exciting for that. So having you in this space is really great, and I'm happy to see your success, and I hope to see you keep on growing and everything. But I think, I mean, if you have some last minute things or anything you kind of want to add onto the stream, I think it's a pretty good place to kind of start to maybe think of wrapping it up. Oh, wait, one more thing. I didn't ask you one of the most important questions. But if you could have a Pokemon partner that followed you around, only one, not a team of 6, just one. Everyone had them, but you had your one. What would your one Pokemon partner be?
Oh, definitely Mudkip. It's gotta be.
Mudkip just walking behind you, following you around all the time.
Yeah. That would be so cute. I would love that. Oh.
How do you say Mudkip in its OG? Is it?
It's Mizugoro.
Oh, that's
which I think, I don't know if it's officially, but if you break it down, Mizu is water and Goro is to like roll. So it's like a Pokemon that rolls in water.
Playing in the water. It's just
Yeah.
it's just basically Mudkip. Yeah, that's perfect. Yeah.
Exactly.
Whereas Mudkip, it's a muddy. What do you think of like something that like wallowing in the dirt or something?
I guess so.
That's funny. But yes, I think that is a very good place to sort of wrap up the interview. Once again, we are going to put Waifu's links down in the description here, so please go follow her on Whatnot. If you like my streams, you'll love hers. Hers are far more entertaining than mine. So if any of my Whatnotters are on here, please go check her out. I would definitely love to see any of you guys at Long Beach as well. And I think that Waifu would as well. We'll both be there. So if anyone's watching, go find us. Look for my Magikarp hat. I'll be wearing that thing. So it should be pretty easy to find me here. Yeah, and look for Waifu there as well. So it should be kind of a good time. And thanks everyone for tuning in to another great episode of the Trainer Spotlight. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this, and we'll catch you guys on another one. And yeah, thanks again for your time, Waifu. It's been a great one.